Chapter 15. Thanks for bringing up the hellhound breeding and the unprovoked nature of the attack. It will make it easier on me and the other vices if we can deflect attention back to him in this case, he said. Ah, here's lunch. Dominique wheeled in a dining cart with 2 covered dishes on top of it, 2 smaller plates with salad, a basket of fresh bread, a pitcher of ice water, and a carafe of coffee. She wheeled it over to the seating area at the other end of his spacious office next to the windows. Thank you, Dominique. You are always welcome, Mr. G. Anything else I can do for you or the judge? She smiled, flashing white teeth, her canines filed into perfect points. No, thank you. We'll call you if we need anything further, said Leo. I was already over examining the contents of the tray. The salad was a mix of greens topped with thinly sliced pears with Roquefort cheese and candied walnuts drizzled with a white balsamic dressing. The bread was still hot. I sat down and started stuffing my face. Depositions always stimulated my appetite. One day, that girl's going to have my job. I'm pretty damn sure of it, said Leo. I need to figure out how to fire her in the next 10 or 20 years. A succubus. You'd think she would want to be working for Nina, but she applied here instead. Weird, but she is smart, and she is watching, and she's learning. He sighed. That's the problem with getting good help. They're always after your job. I nodded and poured some water from the carafe. Well, she seems nice enough. I don't know if you remember, but I was like that with my old boss, too, he said, sitting down at the table across from me. How's the case coming with that preacher man, Jeremiah Anderson? All right. Mr. Lewis was very helpful until he punched out my windshield. Your tip about the unnatural aging helped, too, I admitted. But next time you have information for me, don't threaten my cats. He smiled. I'm just doing my job. I noticed you have more cars in your parking lot than the last time. Business picking up? I asked, finishing the last of my salad. Yep. Since your initial assault on the church meeting in the warehouse, it's ticked up a bit, he said. That was a nice bit of work. I don't think Mr. Lewis could have scared any more shit out of those fucks than you did that night. I removed the silver cover from one of the plates in front of me. It contained a nice slice of prime rib with a potato risotto and steamed asparagus, a little dish of au jus, and another of horseradish on the side. It smelled heavenly. This almost makes up for bothering me this morning with all this shit, I said. You're welcome, he asked. I figure it's the least I could do. We need to keep our working relationship as pleasant as possible. Don't you agree? He asked, starting his salad. Outside, the snow had started to fall again. It looked like we were going to be in for another storm. The river was still moving, the edges covered in ice and snow. A few miles upstream was the place where Amanda had taken her life. I did have a question for you on the Jeremiah Anderson case, I said. Was there any indication that the free will of the human population of Kansas City was actually in danger? Our main concern was simply that our numbers were down, he answered, and the changes in the grayscale. And then there was that weird exorcism that seemed to start this whole thing off. The possessing entity was a low-level soul eater. Nothing like Mr. Lewis. He specializes in lust and addiction. Works for Nina, but not at any large capacity. Who was the host? I asked. Jeremiah Anderson, he answered. I almost choked on my perfectly rare prime rib. Jeremiah Anderson? The preacher? Was the host? Oh, yeah. Nina didn't want us to mention it before because it's kind of embarrassing, he said. We We really didn't think it was relevant. Not relevant. The man that you were having me investigate was previously possessed by one of your demons. How is that not fucking relevant? I asked. It was years ago, before this all started. He said it was in the files as a minor incident, not worth wasting your time on. And who was the exorcist? I asked. Jeremiah Anderson? He answered, you have horseradish on your shirt. Would you like a napkin? I looked down at my stained shirt. I was livid with his nonchalant attitude, and I wondered why he had decided to reveal this to me now. If business was on the uptick, why give me clues that this group had previously thought embarrassing or irrelevant? I picked up a napkin and blotted the stain on my shirt. Let me get this straight, Leo, I said. You thought telling me that Jeremiah Anderson, the man at the center of this whole investigation, was previously possessed and that he was his own exorcist wasn't relevant? Well, actually, it was Nina who didn't think it was relevant, and Ira agreed with her. I thought that you should know, but they outvoted me, he said, uncovering his plate of rare prime rib. I hope you like the lunch. Oh, it's lovely. I said, now, why the fuck didn't you tell me this at the bar or in an email or even one of your goddamn text messages, Leo? It's complicated. Office politics, you know? And at the moment, I'm feeling kind of magnanimous. Plus, Nina threw me under the bus with the Mr. Lewis incident, and she told demonic resources that I should have you on a tighter leash. He said, that's her words, not mine. She doesn't know that you don't like leashes. A lot of her staff do like leashes. I see, I said. And if this comes out and becomes common knowledge, Nina looks like shit. She deserves it. She's a fucking bitch, said Leo. I see. So how often do you have someone acting as their own exorcist? I asked, turning my attention back to the piece of meat in front of me. Not very often. There are some DIY exorcism sites on the internet now, but as far as a success rate, I can't say I've ever heard of another one that was actually successful, he said. How would someone go about doing something like that? I asked. You do have to have help from another source, just to clarify. You can try to do it on your own, but a human being needs some form of spiritual backup in order to have it be successful. And the hole has to be sealed, or we just send in reinforcements. The old 7 worse than the one before thing, he said. So he had to have had help of some sort, I said. Yeah, probably from that jerk Jaziel, said Leo. How would he gain access to him if he wasn't under the control of another entity? I asked. Mr. Lewis said that he would pop in and out of the body as he wanted to. Is that how this worked? Possibly. It was shoddy work on Nina's part. She should have been supervising better, said Leo. So Jeremiah did what exactly? Prayed for intercession, Googled do-it-yourself demon removal, took a shower in holy water. How does something like that even work? I asked, stabbing the final bite of prime rib with my fork to punctuate my final question mark. Maybe You should go ask the little shit who was possessing him in the first place, huh? He said, coffee? I nodded. Can you get me his information so I can track him down? Not really. See, he isn't my employee, and Nina keeps all of her employee records locked up. I don't have access. He handed me my cup of coffee. Black, right? Yeah, so basically you are dumping a big lead in my lap and then telling me to go harass your arch nemesis, Nina. I said, you better have dessert on that cart. And I'm going to need a limo to take me back home after we're done here. Oh, of course, he said. What would you like? Cheesecake? A nice piece of carrot cake? Or maybe devil's food? You have a great bread pudding at the casino buffet. Bring me some of that with the whiskey sauce that goes with it, I said, and pour me a whiskey while we wait. He smiled, and 10 minutes later I had all that I requested. He was using me to try to unseat a rival. Fine. If it got me closer to figuring out what had happened to Amanda, I would do it. I sat, enjoying my dessert with my feet on Leo's coffee table, watching the snowfall. I enjoy working with you, Crow, he said. For all the shit you put me through, you're all right. You're fucking using me, Leo. I know that, and you know that, I said. And you owe me. The bread pudding and whiskey aren't enough to cover this visit to that she-devil Nina's place. Remember that. I could give you comped buffets for all eternity, he said. Not even fucking close enough, I said. I'll have Z take you to Nina's office, and when you're done with dessert, and you can get started immediately, said Leo. And then he can take you home once you're done. I'm gonna need a new coat first, I said. It's fucking cold outside. Tell you what, I'll have him take you to my tailor, and I'll even pay for the coat, he said. Fine, but you still owe me, I said, taking the last gulp of whiskey from my glass. He was as good as his word. I ended up with a better coat than before, no holes in the pockets. It was leather and it smelled like it, and the tailor assured me it was waterproof too.